Welcome back to the Salad and Carbs podcast, the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. I needed to get that in because in the last episode, I actually forgot to say 2 of your 5 a day. So I'm sorry to all of you listeners who've been wandering aimlessly down supermarket aisles looking for your 2 of your 5 a day. We're back. We're here. You've got us. How are you, Carbs?
I'm good, thanks. Yeah, it was very interesting opening that you did there because, people are only getting 3 of the 5 a day lately, aren't they? So it's good that you threw that in there and included it this time. In terms of how I am personally, it's been a good day. I've enjoyed it. I think it's the start of a heat wave at the moment, which makes it quite testing to be recording indoors like this. I mean, I can see what you're wearing or maybe
What am I not wearing?
Maybe not wearing, yeah. So there's that as well. It's all part of the territory, innit? And yeah, you know what, right? Screw it, just get on with it, innit? You know, just make it work. How about yourself? How are you doing? How's your day been?
I'm good, thank you. It is indeed the 1st of May today, and like you say, it's been a bit of a heat wave. I mean, it were only episode 2. We'll talk about the British sunshine. What the bloody hell we're going to call this? This is unbelievable. It's been, touching 22, 23 degrees. I'm sat here with my fake Nadal guns. Nothing you've never seen before on the court.
Never seen nothing like it.
Absolutely. You know, you've seen me play topless before, so
Yeah,
I knew as
I have.
soon as you joined the session, you'd have something to say about that. But you're right, it's roasting. It's very, very difficult. So I thought, you know what, I'll have the top off. I feel like a fucking radiator, honestly. Like, whoa, what's going on? But it's nice. Nice to have a bit of sun. Went out for a drive the other night, actually. Partner's still over at the moment, so we went on a bit of a drive. Went through the forest of Bowland, ended up in a place called Quernmore. There's a tower on the hills, and you can see the bay and Lancaster, and the sun was setting. Oh, it was delicious. So yeah, that's me. That's how I'm feeling. I do have a question to ask you though.
Oh, is it quick burn carbs already?
No, not just yet. You might need to burn some carbs though after I've asked you about this particular thing.
Yeah.
So, when my partner arrived, we'd spoken about chocolate, and I'd been telling you about Finnish and Swedish chocolate and how much I like them. And I feel like I've given you a bit of an unfair sample size because I feel like Finland's been underrepresented with what I gave you. But basically, my partner had been away on a work trip. She'd been to Finland and she'd brought some stuff back. And I said, "Oh, is there any chance you can get Carbs some?" Because we've been talking about Dime and the difference between Cadbury's Dairy Milk Dime and Marabou, which is Swedish Dime, or Swedish chocolate with Dime. So anyway, she brought some. And just in time for Easter, I might as well put the fucking bunny outfit on. There I were. Knock, knock, knock. Who's there? It's the Easter bunny. No, it's not. It's fucking Salad. Here he is with a bar of Marabou and something known as a tupla double-layer banana chocolate bar. So I need your verdict on these delicacies.
So I'll start off with the Tukla.
Hmm.
Personal opinion, like in terms of like personal taste, I don't tend to do well with like fruit and chocolate flavors together. So I did enjoy it. I'm not going to go as far to say I didn't like it. I did enjoy it, but it's not really my kind of thing. But I appreciate, being able to try it. I never tried it before, so I'm glad I tried it. I didn't know what made it Finnish, though. I didn't get that from it. Do you have anything to maybe fill in the gaps for me at all on that?
I think the flavour combination. So in, me, you said fruit and chocolate. Now, I ain't the biggest fan of a fruit and chocolate combo. Don't get me wrong, I like a bit of fruit and nut, and that's about as far as it goes. Like, we do orange chocolate, not a big fan of. Terry's chocolate orange, I can deal with. Whatever they're doing, that's a good mix, but it's not in my top 10 chocolates is a Terry's chocolate orange. We don't do much banana chocolate, but I love banana flavour. And I know body's a temple, blah, 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 eat me fucking seaweed, eat me sauerkraut. Listen, when man needs a treat, man needs a treat. And if that is a banana E number, I'm fucking sorry. You know what I mean? Don't blame me. Blame the people who put it in the product. But I do like a banana flavoured thing. I mean, if it could be natural banana, like a banoffee pie, and you make it yourself, all the better. Or you make yourself a proper banana milkshake, can't beat it. But banana chocolate is something that I do enjoy. I do, and like I say, if it can be the raw goods, even better. But I do suspect in the tupler, it might be a bit of a flavouring vibe. And I think that the Finnish audience, they like that banana thing because they do actually do a bar of chocolate. It's by a brand called Panda. Panda, I knew as a child because they used to sell licorice at Holland and Barrett, and my gran used to buy it me. And then I went to Finland and I was like, Panda? And my partner was like, yeah, they're a big manufacturer here. But it made sense because Finnish export licorice is probably your one. Like, they are big on licorice. So Tupla do actually do a licorice flavoured chocolate bar. Now, next time I give you one, I'll give you a licorice flavoured one. And that's probably a bit more of a viewpoint or a cross-section of Finnish sweets, perhaps. I could get you some salmiakki, which is what they call the licorice. I could let you try some of that as well. But you did get a big bar of Marabou Dime, and obviously Marabou is Swedish, so it's not actually a Finnish brand, but obviously with them being close together, it's well stocked in Finland. What was your take on the Marabou Dime?
Yeah, I will just say though as well, I like how you resisted saying Scandinavian, and I can tell that you're with a Finnish lady because I remember once saying Scandinavian to your missus, and she's like, "Yeah, Finland ain't Scandinavian." She says Norse and Iceland. Nordic, that's it. Yeah. So he said Finland and Iceland are Nordic. The rest are up there Scandinavian. I was like, oh, okay. So I remembered that one. To answer your question, I've got a bit of a story to that as well. So after we finished the last recording, I actually needed to pick up a parcel from a pickup point, and I went in there, got it, and I thought, screw it, while I'm here, see what they've got. Look around the shelves, and they had the Cadbury's Dime Bar, and I was like, right, okay, so I'll get this, and I can try it alongside the Maribor. So that's exactly what I did. So I took it back,
Nice.
tried them together, mate.
Oh, I love this.
Mate.
Did you have the blindfold on?
I didn't blindfold myself. But one thing I will say is that the Maribor blew it out the water. It was
Really?
so better. It was just done so better. I feel like the chocolate for Maribor complements the Dime way better than Cadbury's does. And don't get me wrong, right? Cadbury's is great. I love milk chocolate. Love Cadbury's dairy milk. But with Dime, it does work with it, but Maribor just nails it. And also as well, the pieces in Maribor as well, it's gritty. Like you get that gritty feel to it, like you're eating almost like a dessert in a way. And that's one bit I enjoyed about it as well.
Okay. No, it's interesting because I remember talking to you in the car about this. I think we'd recorded an episode and I came and picked you up and took you somewhere, and I was saying I'm going to get you some of this chocolate, and I was trying to explain like how I felt that the Marabou one was better because of maybe the recipe of the milk chocolate that they have, like the ratio of cacao to milk and all the other stuff that gets thrown in there. And you had some very interesting counter arguments at that stage. You know, the Cadbury's defence was you know,
yeah, the shield for
proper.
The Brits were up, weren't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Brexit means Brexit and all that. But now, you know, that barrier has been somewhat knocked down by Marabou's delicious Dime Bar. But the thing is, right, they do all sorts of flavours, do Marabou. So at the moment, I've got some cookie dough. I actually have some salmiakki. And is it raspberry? I don't want to get this wrong. Probably got it wrong. I'm sorry. Oreo. They do something called a mint croquant. So mint croquant, I think, is basically like a mint. Do you know the centre of a dime? That crispy thing? So I think that's croquant. Or I'm going to guess that that's croquant. So this is like a mint version of that. So it's like chocolate, but with mint crisp bits, or grit, as you're calling it. But I think the way they lay it, like you said, it's gritty. Whereas the Cadbury's one, it's just like it's like Brian sat there in factory, like, is it in Birmingham? I don't even know where it is.
Cadbury's is in Bourneville, I think, which is like near Birmingham.
Oh, it's making some dairy milk dime. Chuck it in, Brian. And he just gets his big bucket of dimes and just throws them in. And you know what I mean? It just ends up in any old way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel there's a method to the Marabou. It's, like you say, it's gritty. Yeah, it's delicious. Well, I'm really, really happy to hear that you actually did the taste test as well. Because in my head, I wanted to text you and say, you should eat these side by side. But you know what I mean? I felt like, give a man some chocolate and just let him eat it however the fuck he wants. But you've actually lived out my fantasy there, so thank you.
I mean, like, the thing is you brought that chocolate when I had like 3 Easter eggs sat there looking at me already. So it wasn't the greatest time because, like, you got like competition from the chocolate that's already there. But at the same time as well, I mean, I got through it. I eventually got to the Maribor, and it was I would go as far to say it's all the chocolate that I had there. It's the one I enjoyed the most, including the Easter eggs. But I mean, who am I kidding here? Easter egg chocolate's a lot of shite, and they don't make it as good as the boys. So yeah, there weren't much competition for that anyway. But yeah, the Maribor was really good. You mentioned mint as well. Now, I've got a bit of a thing for mint and chocolate as well. Like you know what I said before about chocolate and fruit. It's even worse for mint. Mint just does not go with chocolate for me. I don't see the appeal to it. But it's popular. I know how popular After Eights are. So I think it's just a me thing. Maybe I'm picky. Maybe I'm just too
After Eights
basic.
peppermint creams, nah, can't do them. Don't like that. It's too minty. Like After Eights are sickly.
Boring.
But this again, it's Marabou. It's Marabou magic. You know what I mean? It's just how it goes. But the mint croquant. See, I'm a fiend for mint choc chip ice cream. I do like a mint flavouring, but there are poor examples of it, in my opinion. Like, there'll be people out there who love After Eights and love that vibe, but I've just never been into After Eights and that sickly mint vibe. But you were talking about Easter eggs, and Easter eggs, they don't make them like they used to. You know what I mean? They're shy now, aren't they?
Maybe like as we get older, we are better at distinguishing what's good and what's not, though. So, like, as a kid, I remember as a kid in the lead up to Easter, seeing like 5 Easter eggs just overlooking me the whole time. Like, oh my God, I can't wait, in 2 weeks' time I can go through all that. And then, like, Easter Sunday morning, it's like, let me at them, and you just go wild on them. And you're not thinking about how good it is. It's like chocolate, get in my belly. Like, you're that age, and you kind of like the excitement of the occasion just kind of takes over it, doesn't it? But I'd like to just point out what you said about the mint ice cream. Now, mint ice cream for me is probably one of the worst flavors of ice cream I've ever had. I just don't think it doesn't work. For me, it does not work. Mint and ice cream, it does not for me. But I think, like, for me, when I think of mint, stick it on your lamb. Stick it on your lamb roast dinner. Other than that, oh yeah, you got like your mint sauce as well for like your curries and for the mint yogurt. Other than that, I can't really think of much where I'd want it, barring actual
Really?
mint leaves in, like, maybe your salads and that kind of stuff as an ingredient.
Okay, no, I love a bit of fresh mint wherever it can be utilised. And again, we were talking about banana versus banana flavouring earlier, and the issue here might be mint flavouring versus mint, the real thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because obviously we're talking about essential oils, and these things are pricey to make. I do love a bit of mint, though. I love that cooling quality. Thornton's, rest in peace. Thornton's, in the shop, they used to do mini bars. I think they were like, I don't know, you could get 3 for £2, whatever going rate were back in the day. But they used to do like a Viennese one, but they did a mint one. And I loved it because you could like snap a block off and it was that minty, like having a fucking go on Aquafresh. You know what I mean? It was like, there I am eating chocolate, but I'm walking around feeling like I've just brushed my teeth.
Yeah.
It was like a 2-in-1 job. I used to love them, but I do want to move on from chocolate. You know what I mean? I'm happy that you enjoyed your Marabou, but we do have some more pressing matters to deal with in this first section. One of them in particular is a question from our superfan. One of our superfans is Matt, and I've promoted you this time, Matt, because you're there every episode. You want the latest episode. You comment. And your comment this week is, thanks for answering the questions. I'll look forward to series 2. What about the rest of series 1, Matt? You know what I mean? What's going on? Are you having a vacation from the Salad and Carbs podcast? Well, don't be going anywhere, because you know what I mean. You'll be missing 2 of your 5 a day. But he's looking forward to series 2 with an episode featuring dioxide, potentially, in brackets. Keep the content coming, guys. Great work. No, thank you very much, Matt.
No, thanks for that, Matt.
I love the fact that, you're taking the time to comment, and, it's lovely to have people engage with us in such a way. We did have a rather large discussion before this episode about like future plans and stuff, and I still think a lot of that stuff's in the pipeline, and we are thinking of ways how we're going to deal with like special guests and, avenues like Patreon and, like, people want to get involved, and we've got to think of the way the world is now and creating revenue streams. So we are doing a lot of work and a bit of research in the background, and I'm sure when season 2 hits the airwaves, you'll know exactly what's going on. You're like Ronseal, it'll do exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah. Nice throwback there. I like it. Tying things
absolutely.
in. Yeah.
You'll be the first to know. So yeah, thank you very much for that, Matt. And keep your questions coming because I bloody love them. And there's another shout out I need to give in this episode. Now, apparently, I should have given this shout out when we were talking about Luton. We're talking about Luton a lot in those first few episodes.
Too much
you know
now.
What I
I
mean?
think this needs to be put to bed. I mean, it was for...
It were almost like the Salad Carbs and Luton podcast.
Yeah. People are going to think we're Luton Town fans, if anything, aren't they?
I'm going to start talking in a Luton accent.
Yeah.
But we're here. We're back in Luton. But we're not in Luton, though. That's the funny thing. So I have a colleague of mine who's been doing great work plugging the show, getting family and friends to check it out. And I believe that this friend wanted a mention, or this colleague wanted a mention. And you're a friend as well, pal. So Cal wanted a mention when it came to Luton because he supports Watford. So Carbs knows all about this.
I had the chance at Kenilworth Road. I mean, when I
said
said the
chance.
Yeah. I was really close to the segregation between the away fans and the home fans, and the Luton fans at some points was like trying to say, "Oh, you're a small town in Burnley," like trying to wind us up. So then, Rovers fans aren't just going to take that lying down. They're going to give some, they're going to give some banter back. You're just a bus stop in Watford, and they didn't like it. You could tell that the same like animosity and rivalry between what we were winding them up with is there. Like it was like 1 for 1. Like they didn't like it. They were stood there. They didn't look happy about it.
No.
Nah.
Bus stop in Watford.
Yeah.
What a classic. So there you go, Cal. You're just a bus stop in Watford. You are a Watford fan. I hope you enjoyed that, and all the best to Watford for next season. Let's hope they can keep 11 men on the pitch for a few games.
Yeah, I'd like to thank Watford for the 3 points as well, keeping us in the playoff race.
Yeah, absolutely. Freebies left, right and centre here. You know what I mean? I'd like to thank Watford for helping us get promoted. So, Watford, you're making us Northerners, especially us in East Lancashire, you're making us very happy this season. So I hope that those good fortunes come your way next season. Anyway, we have dealt with the first section. And this episode, would you believe, is going to be about music. Music! Yes, it is indeed. How about a bit of quick burn carbs to lead us in nicely? Carbs, you've got 20 seconds to tell me all about the first gig you ever went to. Go.
Okay, so the first gig I ever went to was a band called Feeder, and they're a band that was set up by a Welshman in Newport. They got a Japanese bass player and they had an English drummer. The drummers changed a few times, but that was my first gig at the Manchester Apollo Arena, and really enjoyed it. I was into all the songs like Buck Rogers, 7 Days in the Sun, Just a Day, Turn.
Thank you very much for that.
Only quick burn carbs for like 21 seconds there, I think, weren't it?
Well, you did go over a little bit there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I weren't doing it properly though. I weren't doing my 5-3. So you know what I mean?
I'm actually quite glad because it's actually quite off-putting when you go like 5, 3, 1. It is a bit off-putting, so I actually liked it the way you did this time. Although I did overrun it.
That's don't be telling me that because the 5-3 one's gonna live forever now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Anyway,
we're gonna go for a break. This is the Salad and Carbs podcast. We will be back after the break. Welcome back to the Salad and Carbs podcast, the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. Before the break, we were exploring a little bit of British weather. We were discussing how I have a lack of clothes on while we're recording this podcast. You can't see it, but yes, I am recording this without a t-shirt on because it's ridiculously warm at the moment in the UK. We were talking about Swedish and Finnish chocolate and the subtle differences between Scandinavia and Nordic territories. We were also looking at a question from Matt, one of our super fans, and whilst we're on the topic of Matt, we were talking about him being a super fan, but I didn't ask this question, so I'm going to ask this. If we start doing merch, Salad and Carbs merch, Matt's definitely earned himself a pen, or at least a mug. You know what I mean? That's the level of fan that Matt is so far. What do you reckon, a pen or a mug?
I think a mug, a decent mug, with Salad and Carbs podcast logo on it. I think he'd well have his brews in there, wouldn't
Okay, well, eventually we'll have team salad and we'll have team carbs. You know, you can have one we both on, or you can pick a team. You know what I mean? Do you know
Yeah.
them things that you hit at fairground and the thing rises up and then hits a bell? You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
pens
yeah.
at the
It's
bottom,
like a
and then mugs a little bit higher up, and then t-shirt, or you know what I mean? It's like what is Matt on the super fan ranking? So there you go. You've heard it from ourselves, Matt. You're currently at mug level. Don't mug yourself, mate. The streets. There you
Don't
go.
mag
Music
yourself, mate. Don't mag
reference.
yourself.
Don't mag yourself. We had a shout out to Cal. We had a look at Luton and Watford. Luton. And then we had a bit of quick burn Carbs. And we asked Carbs what was the first gig that he went to. And he was telling us that he'd been to a feeder gig. Before we dive into a little bit more detail regarding that feeder gig, I'm just going to put it out there and say music is a topic that's like way important to me. I am a musician and I do have a degree in music. So it has played a huge role in my life and probably made me the person that I am today. And I could probably do an entire podcast series just on music. But this is the Salad and Carbs podcast. So we are going to keep it light. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be hitting you up with any arpeggiaturas or, you know, any tritonic substitutions in this particular episode. But you might see some in the future. So let's talk more about that first gig. Where was it at again? Academy?
Yeah, Manchester Apollo Academy. I think it was like called the Carling at the time. I think it might have changed its name, but I think it was Stockport Road. I think it was on the venue. You heard of it? I'm getting myself mixed up because I think I have been to the academy, and I think I just
Stockport Road. Hey, tell you what. Don't fucking bother with Google Maps. Just get Google Carbs instead. Unbelievable. Yeah, so it is on the Stockport Road, right? It would have been called Carling then.
Carling.
Wow. Were they giving out Carling cups at door or what?
I mean, I think when I went to this gig, I was still in school. I might have been like 15, 16 years old, so that we weren't drinking.
Okay. No, well, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it, for
Yeah.
a beer manufacturer to sponsor a venue, regardless of
Yeah.
whether young pre-carbs was, having a beverage or not. So, Feeder, what did they play? How big were they at the time? Paint the picture a little bit.
Yeah, that's fine. So this was a tour following the, at the time, latest album called Comfort in Sound. And I don't know how familiar you are with Feeder's discography, but it was the one with the white album artwork and like the Japanese style angel on the front. And it was basically to promote the music on there. They did a lot of songs from that album, but they also did a few classics as well. So the album before that was called Echo Park, and this is probably the album that a lot of people who don't follow them know songs from. So you've got a song called Buck Rogers, and some people, you know what, right? It's one of the most popular songs. Some people don't even realize that this is the song they know. It's the one where it starts off. He's got a brand new car, looks like a Jaguar. A lot of people know that. They don't think it's called Buck Rogers though. So it is one of those, like, maybe they could have marketed it a bit better. Maybe they could have named the song better. You know, either way, if you're a Feeder fan, you know it. You know, there's another one from the album called 7 Days in the Sun, and yeah, that was a good one as well. What do you want to say?
Is it not called CD player, that Buck Rogers song?
It's called Buck Rogers, but it's like, so the lyrics go, he's got a brand new car, looks like a Jaguar, it's got leather seats and a CD player. So yeah, that is the one.
Oh, Carbs has just walked straight into the CD player shaped hole there. But yes, no, Buck Rogers is a tune. Like, Buck Rogers is unbelievable. I've been doing a quick little Wikipedia while you've been telling us all
Oh,
about
I've seen you typing up.
Comfort in Sound. I do recognise some of the singles off this album. Did you know that it was the album that was released on the back of the drummer sadly taking his own
John Lee.
life? I mean, that was a big game changer, I'm guessing, for the band. So to bounce back from something like that and bring out an album as successful as Comfort in Sound, you know, is pretty epic in itself. So the gig itself, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, you know, as you pointed out before, you know, when you asked me, it was my first gig. So it was an experience in itself. You know, I'd never been in that kind of environment before. I didn't really know what to expect 100%. You know, I didn't realize it was going to be quite as crammed as it was. You know, like we were standing, we weren't seating. I didn't realize how packed it was going to be down there. Not only was it packed, people jumping along, and if you didn't jump with them, you were getting squashed even more. So you
Mosh
just had
pit?
to, well, maybe not quite a pit, but it was, it wasn't it wasn't for the light-hearted, let's put it that way. You needed to jump along with the crowd in order to just not get pushed around, and also just to be able to see what was going on as well, to see the band members in action. But I like what you said there about the drummer as well. Yeah, the drummer, he's no longer with us, and that was following Echo Park. And Echo Park was actually my favourite album as well, and it's one I mentioned before about with Buck Rogers, 7 Days in the Sun, Turn as well. That's a really underrated song. It's one of the slower ones. Now, check this out, right? Have you heard of the song called Just a Day by Feeder?
Absolutely. Me
Yeah.
and a mutual friend, beginning with K, used to do the dance from the video to this.
Yeah. So that was the one with the fans doing like homemade videos with the music video, weren't it? So believe it or not, that song was never meant to be released. So it was a B-side. It wasn't even an album track. It was a B-side for 7 Days in the Sun, which made it even rarer at the time for people to have it and listen to it. So it meant that the people in the videos are actual Feeder fans, because no one would have access to it. Because back in the day, this was CDs and tapes. And I'm led to believe that the game Gran Turismo 3, for the soundtrack, they wanted that song. So Feeder was like, you know what? Let's capitalize on this. Let's quickly make a music video for it and get it released. It's exactly what they did. It's become one of the most well-known tracks, and it's amazing track. I love it. So many good memories. It's really good live as well. Really good to hear live.
It's a great song. I love Just Today. I'm singing it away in my head. Anyway, before we end up doing a bloody guess that tune with Salad and Carbs. So first gig. Yeah, it's probably a lot to take in. Apollo, not a bad venue for a first gig. You've got the where you would have been standing at the bottom, and then the tiers above you, which I imagine probably would have, had a few people in there, especially when it's rocking in there. Wow, you wonder if those tiers are going to stay up there sometimes. Okay, so Feeder. Right, well, that leads me into a question regarding Feeder. Have you been to see Feeder since?
I've been to see them twice, so I went to see them again. They did another tour, and I'm not 100% sure. Like, this is where my memory's fading a little bit. I'm not 100% sure if it was for a new album or they just did another tour with the music that they'd already had out. I can't quite remember, because that gig is a little bit foggy in my memory, and I don't think it's because I didn't enjoy it. I think it's just because the first time experience and the awe of being at a concert like that, it kind of overrides my memory from that far back. I want to say it was in 2005, and I don't think they released another album by then. Surely you're going to do a quick Google or look on the wiki while we're talking about it, aren't you?
2005, Feeder released an album known as Pushing the Senses.
Pushing the Senses. Yeah. It does make sense for it to have been for that album, so I'll probably wrong with that. Pushing the Senses, it was one of those albums that I listened to it maybe 3 or 4 times. I felt like it didn't bring anything new for me. It didn't bring anything new. And I think at that point as well is where I maybe started to like divulge into other bands. I think I'd ridden the Feeder wave for me at the time. And I still, respect everything they've done, and I love the good times they give me listening to music, and the escapism that it's provided. But I think by that time I probably needed to move on to something different and just explore new avenues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's like music is like any art form. It's a representation of life in a song or in a film or on the page or on a canvas. And I think these, they're ever changing. Change is the only constant. And, you may, like you say, you put it nicely, you rode the Feeder wave. And then maybe, you have divulged and looked into other bands. But you know what I mean? From that first gig, that's pretty spectacular. And for a band that you would have enjoyed as well. So you would have, Feeder were a band that you were into and you went to see them. Makes sense that second gig sort of gets a little bit hazy. There's a number of bands that I've seen multiple times and you do sort of get blurred lines, or there's always one that stands out above another one, or a couple that stand out, because sometimes it's not just about the artist, sometimes it is about the venue. We will look at venues a little bit later on, I think, but I want to ask you about any other bands that you may have been to gigs and enjoyed.
So I think following Feeder, I didn't really get the gig bug. It was very, very few and far between, I think, by that point. But I started to go to concerts again when I really got into Example. He's like an EDM, maybe electro. To be honest with you, EDM just probably covers it because it's various subgenres of EDM that he covers. Primarily, he started off as a rapper or like a London maybe London rapper, hip hop artist. I don't want to say grime, maybe not quite that much, but I got into his music quite a lot. We'll talk on the realms of like mainstream music here and like pop music, but he had some absolute bangers that were complete earworms as well. And when you went to that setting in a concert as well, like I saw him, the first time I saw him was at the Manchester Arena. So when you see him in a big venue like that, and we're standing as well, and it weren't just him on stage, just rapping and singing to music. There was a full-on band up there. When I say a band, there was like guitar, there was drums. It felt like a rock band, although it wasn't rock music they were making. And there was lights, there was flashing and stuff. It was a bit of a spectacle, and I really enjoyed it. And you're there with other people that enjoy the same music as you as well. There's the atmosphere to it. We're all here enjoying this together. We don't know each other, but we all know we love this. And that's what I liked about that as well. And I probably went to see him, I think it was 4 times in total, 4 times, twice at the Manchester Arena. The third time, me and the friend that I went with, the other 2, we brought another friend and we went to Leeds. So that was good just to go to another venue, just mix it up a bit. And I saw him in a mini festival as well at some point as well after that. But yeah, that's, I'd say, me first real proper time of like, keeping an eye on the concerts like Wednesday's tour and Wednesday was probably an example. Like I wasn't, don't get me wrong, like I love Feeder, but I weren't like always keeping an eye on them and wanting to make sure I went to as many like concerts as possible with them.
Okay, so you became a bit of a fan of Example then. That was like your next foray into going to gigs, let's say.
Yeah, it was like around about like 2010s.
Okay.
2010 sort of period.
What about in between those periods or after that? Have you been to see any other bands since, or are you not much of a gig goer?
So I wouldn't say I've ever been much of a gig goer. Like I said, there's been like little flurries here and there. Was like, I just want to see that artist. I rarely experiment live. I'd rather experiment with listening to, the songs, the recorded songs. But there is another artist, and there's a unsigned hip hop artist from New York called Hoodie Allen, and I found him. He was a song on a Call of Duty YouTube video of like the bedding track. And I was like, oh, what's that track? That's pretty good. Looked in the description, followed the link. Okay, this song's really good. I really like it. What album is it off? Looked at the album. Well, it wasn't an album. It was a mixtape because he's unsigned. And listened to the mixtape. I'm like, what more has this guy got? Listen to another mixtape, and then listen to one after that. And before you know it, I'm caught with his whole discography, and I'm like listening to it all on repeat constantly. I even made like a Hoodie Allen playlist, and I'm like, I need to see this guy live. So I got it sorted. So that around about the time that I looked at the dates, he was performing at the Manchester Academy, and this is, I think it was Academy 2, and it's not a big venue. The roof sweats, and it's not great, but it was a totally different experience from the Example concerts and the Feeder concerts that I've been to. It was more intimate. He was right there. There was a metal bar between you and him, and he was performing right there. There was a time where like he was performing a song, and I was going mad for it because I loved it, but no one else seemed to really be into it as much as me. And he saw me vibing to it, and he like pointed to me. He's like, "Oh yeah, nice one." Like, you get that artist interaction. Not only that, an hour for up to the hour before he's set to come on stage, he stands at the merch stall signing everything that you buy. So that's another artist fan interaction that you had. So yeah, I've been to see Hoodie Allen, I think 6 times altogether, and he's probably my favourite artist to see live. And yeah, that was around the time when I was wanting to open up to more genres at the time when I came across Hoodie Allen. I was like, you know what, let's explore hip hop a bit. I came across Hoodie Allen at the time that I was in that mindset. And I've come across other hip hop artists as well that not liked as much as Hoodie Allen, but I like to thank Hoodie Allen for paving the way to these other artists that I may not have given a chance without him. Okay. Have you heard of him yourself? You look a little bit confused, like maybe you've heard of him, maybe not know too much about him.
Person who's got a degree in music, hip hop is just one avenue I have not walked down. It's just, I don't know what it is, whether it's the instrumentation at times. It's just, it's just such a turn off. It's like, no, I can't cope with this.
I think we've all got that genre, to be honest with you. We've all got at least one genre like that, and it's fine if hip hop's yours.
See, for me, my baseline when it comes to music I listen to tends to be whether it's melodic or not. So it's not like I rule out all hip hop, but a large swathe of it, and the same can be said about things like metal music. They all fall into tropes or stereotypes or signifiers that belong to the genre. So they sort of like overplay the bracket that they belong to sound
It's the
authentic.
association, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of metal music goes down that, like, sometimes I can't hear what the vocalist is singing, ill-produced, very heavy. Whereas, like, there's metal that I'll entertain, and for me, like I say, that it seems to be the melody. I want to be able to, and it doesn't have to be a vocal melody. Like, I don't require a vocal melody. I listen to classical music or jazz perfectly fine. It's just I need melody. I need somewhere to go on. I mean, a bit of harmony always works for me as well. Whereas I find like sometimes a lot of hip hop can just be very drummy and very shouty, and then it's like, well, you know what I mean? I could probably just get a tin of roses out and just hit it and spit bars over this and do it myself.
You're looking a little bit uncomfortable even just talking about hip hop. I find the way you're talking about it, it's almost as though it's jarring for you.
Yeah, like I say, I just think it's something I've probably not explored a lot of. I mean, I've done EDM and I've is Eminem hip hop or is that rap?
Yeah, I mean,
what do all these things? Because really, I did my dissertation on those labels. Really, only serve record shops. Really, like, because those labels and genres, do they help an artist? I'm not too sure. I think they force an artist to do things a certain way, like what we were just talking about. These are the semiotic indicators that belong to such a genre or a subgenre. Whereas if I walk into HMV and I'm after psychedelic rock, or I'm after doom rock or stoner rock, they have a section for me. And Spotify is working in a very similar way these days. Everything's pigeonholed in order for the listener to be able to access it quickly. Does that, you know what I mean? And I think sometimes there's a difficulty there. So for me, I would deem Eminem hip hop because I think there's a lot of that instrumentation that belongs to hip hop present within his music. But then I can see the other side of it where it's like, nah, that's rap music. It's like, yeah, but he uses like such a machine to make his beats on, or the 808, or he uses this and he uses that, and you know what I mean. And this is the debate. And the thing is that I have studied music and I've played it and made it and been involved in it, so I could go on ad infinitum about all these sorts of things. But yeah, just hip hop in general, it's just like I say, I wouldn't say I'd go out my way. There are some hip hop tracks that I probably like, but I think I'd go to other genres first.
Yeah, it's not your go-to, is it? But one thing, I'm not like expecting to be able to out-debate you on music. I'm not even going to go there. I mean, your interest in music outweighs mine. But one thing I will say as well, I'll refer back to what I said in a previous episode, the one about films and film genres. So you've got some genres where there's a lot of crossover with. So, I mean, I'm more comfortable talking about films, so this is probably this is why I'm boxing it like this. So two genres comes to mind list. You've got thriller and horror, two different genres, but they often get put together in films. Now, I feel like that can happen with music as well, and I think rap and hip hop gets boxed like that, and it happens a lot in EDM as well. I've listened to an EDM song, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is a great dubstep song. Look at what the classification is. Yeah, it's drum step, and I'm like, okay, right, fair enough. Like, I mean, it's good, but it kind of makes you think about it a different way. But that leads on to what you were saying about, is it good for them? Because now, because it's a different categorization, you are now thinking of it a different way rather than maybe thinking of it neutrally, which is kind of what you should do for every song.
It's difficult. And I think, like I say, who does it benefit? Does it benefit the artist, or does it benefit the person who's going to probably try and make some money off the artist's creation. And that in itself is probably something that I'd love to explore in future episodes of this podcast and have a really good look into, popular music in general, because that is something that I can have a really, really good conversation about. Just as much as I'd enjoy doing an exploration into film, the expansion of film from, we used to watch it on a stage and then we got cameras and usually it's all to do with the advancement of technology, because it's what the technology allows us to do at the time, and who's smart enough and who's on that cutting edge of quality or the leading edge of quality, who's using that technology to the best of its capabilities or doing something that we haven't seen before. Anyway, we were talking about gigs and I want you to tell me, what are your top 5 gigs? You can't say all 6 of them were Hoodie Allen. You can't say 4 example ones, and you definitely can't say 2 feeder ones. So I want to know what your top 5 gigs were.
Well, this is the problem because I haven't actually been to that many gigs. I feel like you've railroaded me into failure for this. I have been to a few little things here and there. So, top 5, the first time, number 5, I've got to put it in there because there was a festival at Ewood Park called Feel the Noise. It weren't my kind of thing, but I went, I enjoyed it. It was like Will Young was headlining, you had Mystique there. I'm just putting it in there because I'm just running out of things to put in. The 4th one was probably another festival again. It was one in Manchester, and that's the one that Example were headlining. It was actually Pride. It was actually Pride, by the way. I wasn't going to go, and I got persuaded to go. Oh, by the way, Example's headlining Pride. I'm like, what? Okay, I'll go then. So I went to that. And so the 3rd best one, I probably have to put the first time I went to see Example. It was like the first, it was a great experience, but it did feel a little bit samey, like you didn't bring anything new, or maybe it's because I'd seen it all before. Maybe I'm not sure. Number 2, it has to be.
No, not number 2. Yeah, if this was a quiz show on a radio program or a TV, you've already lost. Like, name me 5 gigs you've been to, and you can't name the same gig by an artist. But we've had to get Example in twice already.
Well, it was actually a festival that Example was part
Doesn't
of.
matter. Example was the only reason that you went.
Well, I'm
so
sorry.
No, you can't have one of them. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to clamp down on this behaviour and say
Well,
you could only
I'm
have
sorry,
one.
it's got to be a top 4 then.
You could only have one example of Example in this top 5. No, there must have been other gigs that you've been to.
I've just remembered one now. So
yeah,
I went to see Kasabian. That's got to be number 4. Number 4. I've been to see Kasabian. I don't know how I forgot about this. And it was the Kasabian gig where I saw the advert for Example, which made me want to go to that. So
look at that.
So yeah, this just literally came to me now, and they ended with like the On Fire and did all the classic songs and stuff. So yeah, starting again. You got the number 5 gig. You got Feel the Noise. Number 4, Kasabian. Number 3, First Example. Number 2, the First Feeder. Already spoke about that. Number 1, you already know it. The first time I went to watch Hoodie, and I had got my merchandise signed before. He pointed to me a few times in the crowd. I even won a meet and greet for that gig as well, just remembered. So I've got photos with me and him after the gig as well. So that's my number 1 gig. Got the long way around, but we got there.
We did. We had too many examples of Example, which
for example.
Honestly, what a meme that's going to be. I did want to look at venues, but I'm going to ask you about, okay, are there any other artists that you've seen that might not be established artists? Have you seen any grassroots stuff that you've enjoyed?
Well, I've seen you.
Yeah, but no. Yeah, you've seen me, but what does that mean?
So I've seen you performing for 2 bands. The first time, can I name these, by the way?
Yeah, you can name the band.
The first one was Moral Panics. The first time, I'd even met you actually, was you performing in a pub, but I'd recognise you from when you worked in a previous job as well. So it I knew of you, but didn't know you at the time. So yeah, that was really good. You doing all the covers. Fucking Baby, mate. Fucking Baby, you smashed it. And you came right up to me, head, foreheads touching, mate, for the, when you're getting into it. And I felt involved in that gig, man. And like you were vibing in it, you were enjoying it. The other time you were playing as a band member as well was Kindles, which is your more recent band. And I saw you with Whip and Kitten in Rotten Stall. Similar sort of thing. I think with that one, it was more casual. in a way that, like, you weren't you weren't trying so hard to get the crowd going and jumping around and stuff. You're just, letting your music do the talking, I think, on that one. But you did do a little bit of, like, like talking in between songs and stuff, using your wit and your humor, which were pretty good. And then another time as well, where you went to a festival in Bourne-Aldswick, Bands on the Square. That were really good. It's a good day in general, really, because it was really sunny, and had a few drinks. And me and your missus and your family, when you came out, we were vibing to it. And you got these other people stood there that had no idea who you are, and they're like, "Who is this band? I mean, these people know him, like, and they're jumping around and they're singing all the lyrics and everything like that. Like, they must be good. Let's join in." So then you got these randomers standing with us who didn't know us, and they're joining in just because we're having a good time to your music. So yeah, that was a great day. And you know what? We went out to the pubs afterwards as well.
Yeah, it was good. No, I was just interested from a grassroots point of view, because I think they're like two different areas, aren't they? Like when an artist makes the leap from being maybe someone grassroots to that next level, the venues change and the field changes. But I'm glad that you mentioned a couple of those gigs, because, yeah, do you know what? The great memories, and I was enjoying the interaction just as much as everyone else probably was. The Wally Arms one, where, yeah, it's like this guy, is plugging baby, let's go. And then the Whip and Kitten, the armbands, and five more songs, more songs, two more songs. That was a good one.
Five more songs is what I said on the recording, wasn't it?
And then obviously we had Bands on the Square as well, which is actually on YouTube. So if you want to see Salad singing some songs with the band known as Kindles, or formerly known as Kindles, then you can search for Bands on the Square 2024 Kindles, and you will actually see 4 songs from our set that afternoon. We are going to go for a break. It's been a deep dive into your favourite bands, some of the favourite gigs that you've been to. You've given us plenty of examples. This is the Salad and Carbs podcast. We will be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Salad and Carbs podcast, the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. Before the break, we had a very, very deep dive into Carbs' gig history, bit of an exploration into his musical preferences and the journey that he's been on, some of the gigs that he's been to, artists that he's seen. Then we had a bit of a shameless plug, not gonna lie, you know what I mean? Salad needed to get his bands in there somehow. Carbs wasn't biting, so you know what I mean? Boom. Carbs, have you seen any grassroots bands? Oh, actually, I have. Yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed that shameless plug. But it was really good. We ended up talking a little bit more from a musicological or a sociological perspective, because we did explore like different genres, and you were talking how you got into like EDM and hip hop, and then we had a bit of a an exploration into me. It's not my go-to genre, I would say, but we were talking about how genres actually work. Where did they come from? Who do they benefit? Do they benefit the person trying to sell the music? Do they benefit the person trying to create the music? All very, very interesting things. But I am going to hand it over to Carbs.
Yeah, that's fine. One thing I will say is I find it very interesting, like your interest in music, your passion for it. I want to know, like, what really started it. Like, did you have like an upbringing? Were you around music a lot? Were you around very passionate people, or is this all self-taught? Was it, the experiences at the time? Maybe it was like the right place at the right time. Like, what fueled the fire is what I'm asking.
It's a good question, and it's going to be hard for me to condense that into a short space, but I'll try. So I grew up in a household where Dad was listening to like punk music a lot, so 70s and I don't want to say 80s, but you know what I mean? Like, it was a lot of Sex Pistols, Buzzcocks, Green Day, Dookie when that came out. Like the odd modern stuff made the cut, and then you'd be listening to that. Like Billy Talent when Try Honesty came out, he bought that. Incubus, Megalomaniac. You know what I mean? There were some right bangers that made the list, and then you had my mum who were listening to more like Baccarat. T-Rex, more glam rock, and Peter Skellern, I want to say, other sorts of artists. So, you was exposed to a certain set of music, and then obviously, my gran was quite musical. And then I guess just from school, really, I was always in the choir. You know, I was one of the lead singers in the choir at school. And then I started learning recorder. I mean, I had a guitar when I was younger, like really young, but I just didn't have I was more interested in video games and maths and stuff like and reading. I just weren't able to concentrate on a musical instrument at that time. You know, I hadn't sussed it out. It hadn't taken my interest. But then recorder became a thing in primary school, and I learned how to play a recorder. And I joined a recorder club on a Monday after school, and I smashed it. And I just got well good at playing recorder. Don't know, I can still play recorder now. I don't think I'm as good as I was when I was a kid because I was smashing it. I was sight reading all sorts of stuff, doing solos at the Nativity and you name it. You know what I mean? I was pretty good. Then that had taught me how to read music to a certain extent. You know what I mean? We don't have to get into the nitty gritty, but basically I could read music, the basic version. I could read a melody in the treble clef. There you go. Oh, you musicologists, you know where we're at now. You know what page we're on. We're on the treble clef page. So I can read so much music. And then it sort of moved into piano because that you go to secondary school and the keyboard gets whipped out in music lessons. Then you start exploring things like, you know, you might be able to have a go on a drum kit. There's a drum kit around that you can get lessons on. Then you start to learn a little bit more about rhythm. But you learn about rhythm by learning to read music because when you see sheet music, it's not just like pitch and harmony and melody that's included in that. The actual rhythmic information, tempo and things are all in there as well. So it's you know, it's telling you how quick to play and when to play. So, you know, you're already sort of familiar with that. And then the drums come along. And then I guess I started, you know, the first CD I bought, the first single, it would have been a tape back then, was Redneck's Cotton Eye Joe. That was the first song that I decided I want that. And obviously, my dad was like a big advocate of, oh, you know, if you like that song, you should, you know, he grew up in an era where everyone were going to record shops and buying records and never really took my fancy, that sort of thing. But the minute that I had an affinity towards a song of my own volition, straight down to Our Price, as it were called back then, the music shop.
Yeah, I remember the one, yeah.
We bought Redneck's Cotton Eye Joe. And from then, it goes from the sublime to the ridiculous. You know what I mean? I had the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers theme tune on tape. You know, The Simpsons Sing the Blues on vinyl, all while still listening to mum and dad's stuff. But then, at some point, I think it was the transition between secondary school and going to college. There was a set of circumstances, and I'd had a fiddle on the guitar, and at this point I was also doing the odd piano lesson for £1 a week in a church on a Saturday morning that my gran were taking me to. Having that prior knowledge of music theory and being able to do it in my, you know, I think we had to do like a compulsory music lesson up until we were 14, until we specialised. And I didn't want to do dance at school or performing arts, so music had to go up. I didn't get to do music until I could do music in my free time, I guess. And that came around from Guitar Hero.
Nice.
And, you know, I was playing Guitar Hero and, you know, it was a cool thing to do back in the day. And, you know, I was playing it behind my head and all that stuff. And everyone was like, why is it so easy for you? Why is it so easy? It's like, because it's easy. It's like, it's not, you know what I mean? It's telling me what to do. It's saying hit the red button now. And I'm doing it. But then they were like, right, well, have you ever played a real guitar? And it was like, not so much, no. So then someone had an acoustic guitar and a tuner in a bag and, you know, the classic set. And it weren't a bad guitar. So I bought it off her. And then I just started learning myself. And I just used YouTube videos. To be fair, it was a long slog. But I always had the passion. So I always wanted to do it. And at first, I was shocking. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to play certain chords or you're trying to play a certain thing and you just can't do it yet. You need to keep practicing. You need to, you know, get the muscle memory down and the chord shapes and the patterns and things. And, you know, it was a slog. But then things moved quickly. And then I did media studies at college. And then I didn't go to uni when I probably should have done, according to the timeline. And then I ended up going back to college, actually, and doing music. And it was during that time that I started meeting people who I would go on to start my first band with. just writing songs. I remember it, a guy named Tom. And I would love Tom to eventually come on the show because Tom is doing a doctorate at Salford University, where we actually went to uni, and Tom's doing a PhD in music. And I just think it's incredible because I knew from the day I met him how good that guy was because he was just incredible. It was like meeting Jimi Hendrix or something like that. It was crazy. And yeah, we got together and we were just messing about. We were just kids and we just hit it off. He was into sociology and politics and economics and whatever else he was doing his A levels in, and we just hit it off. Started a band, and you start learning covers. You need to start finding people to get involved in your project, and eventually we did. And I guess I want to wrap it up there because we might explore this in greater detail at some point. But that is how I got into music. So I can pretty much play any instrument. I'm not a master of any. I would say I'm probably a better guitarist than anything else. I'm a songwriter, I'm a performer, but stick me on a piano, I'll play you a tune. Stick me on a drum kit, I'll play some drums. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be playing your Slipknot Left Behind on drums. But I tell you what, if you give me like some money and some time, I'll learn it. If you give me the space and time to do so, I'd definitely do it for you. But yeah, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades.
Yeah. One thing is interesting to me personally, like, me knowing you, I know very much you're a numbers guy. We spoke about this. I think you've even mentioned it in this episode as well. I feel like that has helped you understand music as well. Because am I right in saying that to understand the notes, you need to have like a mind's eye and be able to like have all the notes laid out in your mind. You need to be able to see. I know you listen to music, but in a way, do you need to see it in your head? You need to see the notes and have it laid out for you in that way, in your head.
Probably works different for different people. I don't see it's interesting you say that because I don't think I visualize music as such. I hear it. I've always
Feel
been
it.
yeah, I'm a hearer. If if I could go to the piano now and you could say, play me the bill, and then
You've done that already. You've sang that song already.
I would figure it out. I would just find where it is. And then, I'd get it wrong a few times, but then I would lock it in and I'd be like, right, well, there you go. That's the bill. So I've always been I play by ear. And sometimes I've probably been lazy because of that, because it's like, I don't need to know the theory because I just hear it anyway. Whereas I know that some people do visualize it. And obviously I've studied it now to, degree level. And, I've done my own explorations into, there's so many things that go on within music. It really is fascinating, scales and modes and things like this. And that has had an impact on the music that I listened to over the years. That, I started off as, I was listening to, I like punk, it's been ingrained in me. I like music with energy and, that pace, like, da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And Moral Panic, my first band, a lot of my job was like down strums, like, because I just wanted that vibe. Whereas I think as I've got older, and obviously as I've studied and things like that, then my music taste has changed. And, I've probably, I won't say I've plateaued, but I'm in a place now where my music taste has probably leveled off a little bit. I don't, like when I was younger, I was just wanting to find everything. Tell me everything. What's coming out next week? Who's this artist? Who's that? I need to listen to this. Like an avid DJ, I guess, type thing.
Yeah.
Whereas now I just think music is, it's never going to go away, but it's definitely taken a bit of a backseat. I love doing it because for me, music is meditation. So if things are getting a little bit on top for me, or I'm getting a little bit stressed out, for me, an adequate way of dealing with that is just to turn it into music. It's like taking a monster out of your head, making it into a song, and then off it goes. Then it don't live in my head anymore. It's not stressing me out because it's a tune.
It's no longer paying for rent in your head. It's out there, got its own house.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that's it. There's that saying that kids that, it lives rent free in my brain. Like, yeah, I guess it is relevant to this, isn't it? Because that's what it does. And then you need to like write it, put it down there, record it, and get it out there. So you know what? That sounds roughly how it sounded in my head. I'm happy with that now. That can leave my head and it can live differently within this recording. So that's interesting how you see it that way. How it kind of stresses you out a little bit, in that you can't get it out and let it live on its own. It's just in your head, like kind of taking up your headspace and like distracting you a little bit. Do you have any like major influences at all? If you were to say like any bands or artists or just singers or any sort of inspirational, is there any people that come to mind first? And I mean, I don't want like I don't want like a massive list of people here. Any major influences? What really what I'm asking.
Major influences. From being about 11 years old, you're talking stuff like Slipknot, Linkin Park, a lot of new metal, Alien Ant Farm, Papa Roach. And I'm not saying I'm like hugely into the like Linkin Park, like Hybrid Theory. I could probably sing to you in every language, backwards, forwards, sideways. That album was demolished. Sum 41. I used to love Sum 41.
I love that. Yeah, I love listening to Sum 41.
All
back in the
killer,
day.
no filler.
Yeah.
Does this look infected? But then the transition started for me. That's when I started to get into indie music. I traded a lot of that in then for like The Strokes and Block Party, Arctic Monkeys, Maximo Park. I've seen a lot of these bands. I went to Leeds Festival in 2009. Pretty much watched everyone there. Anyone worth watching, that's for sure. You know, Arctic Monkeys, major influence. Block Party, major influence. Like I've seen these bands multiple times, and they were. I want to be doing that. I want to try and do that because that looks incredible. Those tracks make me feel a certain way. You know, we used to cover a lot of Arctic Monkeys songs. We used to cover a lot of Block Party songs. When, you know, sometimes you need to put them in the set because people don't know your stuff. You were saying earlier that you came to watch Kindles and other people are looking at you enjoying those songs and thinking, why don't we know these songs? Why are these people enjoying these songs so much? And it's sort of like a FOMO, but it's also like a sympathetic resonance as well, where like the A string wants to resonate with the D string because they share certain properties, and D is just like, I'm vibrating anyway because can't help it. But that's something that we will talk about in a future episode.
It's interesting that though. I've heard you discuss that before. It's an interesting one. We'll save for another day.
It is.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they were major influences on me. And then I think as I've grown older, you know, my music taste has diversified. You know, I worked for a jazz musician, a jazz band based in Japan for a bit, and you know, secured funding and got them on their first UK tour. You know, these two of them had never been to the UK. I am going to shout out Cycles of Trio and Tom Sutherton because I think that they're fantastic artists, and it really did open my mind towards other avenues of music that probably I hadn't really paid much attention to. Like I could have studied jazz at uni, but I didn't catch the boat at that time. It wasn't for me then. Maybe blinkered, young, arrogant, whatever you want to say. It just wasn't for me at that time.
Right thing, wrong time, really, weren't it?
Potentially, yeah, and I just don't think I was technically that proficient when it came to the instrument, so I just sort of cut myself off from all of that. But working with them was phenomenal. Just seeing Tom and his enthusiasm and his drive and passion for music, similar to Tom Metcalf, who was in Moral Panic. You know, who I said was, you know, it was like me meeting Jimi Hendrix. You know, that guy you just put the guitar in his hand and he made it sing. You know, it was just like jazz chords, shredding, you know, but it was so fluid and nice. You know, it wasn't just shredding for the sake of it. It was all well composed and well thought out. Whereas Tom Sutherton, he was pushing music to the nth degree. You know, he was trying to play in ridiculous time signatures. He was trying to, you know, like the Cycles of Trio, it's not just jazz, it's like jazz fusion. You know, there are elements of rock in there. There are elements of, you know, he's playing a double bass and he's playing it like, you know, you could get that in a Tool album or a Slipknot album, you know what I mean? You know, double bass pedal on the drums, like, but then you got a piano over the top of it playing like wonderful Eastern Japanese melodies and progressions. Like really privileged to have experienced that, especially out there as well. Like that was incredible. Just to be a part of that, and then I think that opened me up to. So my band at the minute is King Gizzard and the Wizard Lizard, or the Lizard Wizard. I always get it confused. It's KGLW, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. What a band! What a band! Like they have an analogy in boxing of pound for pound, the best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, for me, they're the best musicians on the planet because they don't just do one genre. They've done, I think they're on 27 albums since 2011, which ain't bad. And they did 5 in 2017. This ain't an Arctic Monkeys job, or a Block Party job, We're like, Oasis were, Oasis write Oasis albums. Yeah, they might be slightly different each time, but it's Oasis. This is like, this album is, a folk acoustic album. This album is a metal album. This album is a jazz album. This album is a lo-fi album. This album is indie. This album is funk. Literally, it's so diverse what they're doing. This album is a musical. Honestly, I have literally fallen in love with that band, and they are my go-to now. And you know what I mean? Like you with Feeder, you got to a point where you felt like you're done with Feeder for a while, but there'll always be times where you'll go back and listen to Feeder.
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm not there with King Gizzard, because the thing is, they're that prolific and they've always got new stuff coming out. But 27 albums, you're talking over like 350 songs to be dealing with. Like there's a big catalogue. But they've inspired me and encouraged me to, broaden my horizons. And now I have started getting into that more psychedelic rock sort of vibe, and looking at other, jazz artists and things like that. They even do EDM. And when you mentioned hip hop earlier, they have a really, really good song called The Grim Reaper. And it's a hip hop, it's a rap. And they actually played it live. So me and my partner went to London in 2023. We went to 2 dates, consecutive nights, but in different venues. The first night was at Ali Pali, and it was incredible. Like, honestly, it was amazing. The second night was great, but we were seated in the stands, and it was a different vibe. But that first night, we were in the mosh pit. We were in and amongst
Stuck
it.
right in.
It was incredible. They played Grim Reaper, and I was like, this is just amazing. Like, just to hear it live, and like you say, just to, even though it was like hip hop, like, you go and listen to, that can be your homework for the next one. You listen to the Grim Reaper, and you tell me if that was a hip hop song or not, because for me it is. But then they played so a song had come out in 2022 called "The Dripping Tap," and it's a bit of a prog 18-minute long. You know what I mean? It won't go amiss, like Through the Fire and Flames. You know what I mean? Like, they should update Guitar Hero and make The Dripping Tap the new last song. 18 minutes long, shredathon. It is beautiful. And they played it last, and it was just like, can it get any better than this? But yeah, that's where I'm at influence-wise these days.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that is it the King Gizzard one. That it sounds very interesting. I think you may have mentioned him before, but you really like delved into him a bit there. And it's interesting that they just like keeping themselves fresh all the time. They're trying to like there's something for everybody. It sounds like for them. One thing that I'd like to ask. I mean, you've been to many gigs, many festivals, and you're very much a music guy. One thing I'd like to know from you is that, do you get anything more from seeing bands live or artists live there in person, as opposed to listening to the recorded songs, as opposed to seeing performances on like a DVD or like a stream, for example? What is it about being there live that, like, does it help you with your music? Is it just a better experience in general, or what does it do for you?
It's a really good question. Do you remember episode 1? I spoke about a guy called Walter Benjamin and his book. And in his book, he mentioned the aura, and the aura was the real thing. Now, I think when you go to a gig, you experience the aura. Now, sometimes that aura can be crap, because you might get the gig where the singer isn't particularly great, or maybe the bass player makes a mistake, or there's always that element of the unknown when you go and watch the artist live. Whereas on the recording, a lot of that gets cut out. So a lot of that is produced, and just do that again. Just let's have another take on that. Just do them keys again. So it's almost, and like, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of artists who record live. So they'll set up live in a room and then record live. There'll still be a click there. There'll still be something, a reference point to keep them all in time and all clued up as to what's going on. So there's all sorts of arguments as to, is it really live? Is there an element of production there? But I think when I go to gigs, what am I getting from that? I am looking at the performance in general, because when you go to a gig, it's not just about the artist and the songs. It is about the controlling the audience. Like, how do you get the audience involved? How do you get them to participate? The light show, the lights are really, the visuals, like, that's becoming more and more of a thing. Because it's that full experience then, isn't it? It's not just the music. You've also got the the full spectrum, all the senses are pleased. And then you've got to think about things like the venue. How were the toilets? Were they easy to get to? You know, what food was available? How was if you're going to go further, you know, what was the full thing like? Yeah, I'm always thinking about those sorts of things. And then obviously the nitty gritty of what guitars are being played, what, you know, if you can get close enough, I want to see, you know, how did they play that chord in that song? You know, which inversion of the chord did they play? Did they use a capo? How do they do this? You know, that for me as a musician, I'm yeah, sometimes it's nice to just let go, like, and just get into it. And I think there's certain songs when I'll do that, but then a lot of the other time, it is a bit of a homework effort for me, and I will be there stroking the beard, going fascinating. Oh, yeah, so I'm right, rather, and that's literally what I'll be doing. You know what I mean? I might as well take a tweed jacket and a briefcase with me. We are going to move on because this episode is turning into the London Marathon at this rate. We have had an exploration into some of Carbs' gigs. We have also had a look into some of my gigs. This is the Salad and Carbs podcast. We will be right back after this break. Welcome back to the Salad and Carbs podcast, the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. What an episode we've had. We've been talking about music. We have had a look at, well, I mean, all the way back to the beginning of the episode when it was Marabou chocolate and dime and mint and banana, Watford, Luton. We had Matt being a super fan, but he's only at the mug level. Don't mug yourself, Matt. Then we moved on to Carbs, and he gave us many examples of when he went to watch Example, but actually used too many examples in his top 5 that I had to tell him to give us another example, which he weren't too happy about. And then we've had a look at my journey when it comes to music and, you know, bands that have influenced me and some of my experiences. So it's been a bit of a ram-packed episode. So this final section might not be as long as the other sections. I do want to ask Carbs a question regarding, are you going to see any artists this year? Have you got any plans to go and see any artists? Musicians?
Honestly, I don't have any plans, but I am open to like things coming up. Honestly, I mean, I don't mean to be like, you know, beating a dead horse here, but like, honestly, mate, if you were to say, you know, Carbs, I'm doing, you know, another show at this place. Do you want to come? I'm like, yeah, there, love it. Want to hear you. Want to see you up there doing your thing, because you are good on stage. You are a presence. That's just theorizing, though. To answer directly, you know, I don't have any plans to, no, but yeah, I'm open to it. I'm always open to it.
Okay, so Carbs has no plans to go and see any musicians unless I get a band together in the interim, and then Carbs will be there, super fan that he is, at the front with the t-shirt, with the Kindles armband on. He'll be there asking
Changing
for 5 more
lanes.
songs. Okay. No, well, the reason that I asked is because I'm actually going to go and see an artist very soon, actually. I'm going to be away in a couple of weeks' time. So me and my partner are heading out to Lisbon, and we are going to watch King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard.
Yes.
None other than for 3 nights in a row. So we're going to, I think they're playing at the Coliseu de Recreos, which is like a big Coliseum type venue, indoor it seems. And they're going to be playing 3 nights in a row, and I am super excited to go and see them. Some new stuff is coming out, and 3 nights in a row just sounds incredible. And you know what? It'd be nice to just have some time off work and, you know, have a bit of sun and do something different, which is going to lead me on to, do you have any holidays planned this year?
I mean, I don't have anything penciled in just yet, but I've got like some outlying plans for holidays. There's me and my friend who spoke about potentially going to Gibraltar, and then like from Gibraltar, you can get a boat trip to Morocco. So it'd be good to like, you know, go to Gibraltar and Morocco in like one trip. There is another from another friend as well, another outlying trip. Again, nothing down, but it's like a bit of something we planned for maybe back end of autumn. We want to go to Tenerife, but it's not for the reasons that you might think. We want to go watch a Club Deportivo Tenerife match, which I have already been to twice, by the way. But this friend of mine, who ridiculed me for going to a football match while on holiday on my own at the time, now regrets not coming with me, and he wants me to show him how to get there. So I said, yeah, okay, you know, you've apologized, you've owned it, you've admitted your regrets. screw it, let's do it. I want to go back again, let's do it. Apart from that, plan just yet for holidays. I mean, you say you go in Portugal. Is there anywhere else that you've got in mind? I know you like to go to Ireland quite a bit, don't you?
I do end up in Ireland. My partner lives in Ireland, so Ireland, for me, it's getting to a point now where it doesn't really feel like a holiday anymore. It's
Second
just
home,
like, yeah, it's just it's part of my life. You know, I love going to Ireland.
To be sure.
Ireland, as we're calling it at the moment.
What was that advert? Sorry, Sally. What was that advert? Remembered? Discover your adventure. DiscoverIreland.com. Have you even heard of that before?
Well, I've probably seen it somewhere, but when it comes to carbs and his adverts, this guy's an encyclopedia. But yeah, I am going to probably end up in Ireland, a few more times this year. But I think the next big one will probably be Finland. So I think potentially Finland early next year, which I'm looking super forward to because it'd be winter and some snow, and I'm really excited by that potential. The reason that I asked you about holidays or potential future gigs is because that's going to lead us nicely into talking about travel. And in the next episode, let's talk about travel. We can talk about different countries that we've been to. Have you got anything to add?
I have a salad dressing for you.
The salad dressing. Salatikastike. That's a salad dressing in Finnish for you.
Nice.
Right, okay, let's go.
I'll tell you what, it'd be good for you to practice your Finnish while over there. You've got your partner to practice on, but people who don't know you might not give you as much of a chance. Anyway,
Finland,
tangent.
Be ready.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Tangent. So, since this episode was music-themed, I thought I'd ask a music-themed salad dressing. Okay, give me your salad dressing on this pop music.
This pop music. Fuck me. This pop music. Oversized, overrated, oversynthesized.
Nice. This is why I wanted your opinion on this, because I knew you would just use these big adjectives to describe it, and I didn't think it'd be your thing as well. And I wanted to prize that from you as my opportunity to do it. And I didn't even know your opinion on it. I just presumed that that's what I was going to get, and I'm glad I'm on, mate. I'm happy with that one. Happy with that.
I think that's the young salad in me. I think the older salad is a bit more partial to 80s music, but we want the controversy, you know what I mean? That's why he's asking for the salad dressing, so we might as well fucking give it him. That indeed was the salad dressing. I feel this is a good place to wrap up, unless there's any pressing matters that you've got outstanding. Nothing
major. I'm happy with how things have gone in this episode. Yeah, just continue to do things as we are at the moment, I think.
He's happy. He's happy, everyone. He's happy. Carbs is happy. Salad's happy. Yes, this has been the Salad and Carbs podcast, the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. I'm going to say it twice to make up for the last one. It's the only place where you can get 2 of your 5 a day. There'll be no more randomly walking around those supermarkets to make sure that you get all 5. We will be back in the next episode where we'll be talking about everything travel, where we've been, places we like, places we might not like. Look after yourselves. It's been a pleasure. You're listening. It's been good to be back. This has been episode 7. Sayonara.
Bislemma.